Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to learn how to deploy a container in that remote machine manually using all the process that we have been creating. So for this, we're going to generate a Docker image first. So let's go to our Jenkins folder, pipeline, Jenkins, and build. So right here, we want to first remember we want to build a jar, or well, we can use this jar actually. So let's build the image. So let's say build, but remember that to build the image we need to have a build tag that is being used in the Docker Compose build. So we need to define this variable here, but in the future Jenkins will define it by itself. So for now, let's say echo export build tag, and that is going to be, for example, 10, let's say. Okay, 10. Then we execute our build script, and we have an error right there. Oh yes, and that's because we need to execute the script outside. Remember, we need to execute this from here. So let's say Jenkins build, and then build the image, and in this way we can build the Docker image without any problem. Cool. So now we can do Docker images, and we grep for Maven, and we should have our Maven project 10 created right here. Super cool. So now that we have this image created, let's say that we want to push this image, which is number 10, to our registry. So for that, we can simply do Jenkins push and push.sh, and that is going to push this image, the image that is using the tag number 10, to our repository, as you can see right here. Remember that if you take a look to your Jenkins folder, push script, we're actually using variables, so we're grabbing the build tag environment variable to know which version we should push. In this case, we're going to push the version 10 because if you take a look at the value of the environment variable, the value is 10. Okay, so now we have the image in our registry. Let's go and validate it. So let's refresh in here, and we should see a tag number 10. Cool, you can see it here. So our image was successfully pushed. So now we're gonna log in to our machine using SSH. So we're gonna say SSH, and we're gonna log into our machine, our remote machine, the machine that we just created. But before logging in, we're going to transfer the file. Remember that we need to transfer the deploy file. So let's go to Jenkins data, pipeline, the Jenkins deploy, and in here remember that we created this file that is going to transfer the name of the image, the build tag, and the password, and that's going to be transferred to the machine. So let's execute this script first to transfer the file to the remote machine. Okay, it was successfully transferred. So now we can just SSH into this machine, into the remote machine, to deploy our application manually with all the process that we've done so far. So if we take a look at the temp.out file, you're gonna see, okay, the name of the image that was pushed, the tag, and the password that you need to use to log in to the registry and download the image. So for now, let's create a folder in your remote machine. Let's call it like Maven, or as you want. And in here, we're going to create a new Docker Compose file. So let's say vdocker compose.yaml. And we're going to define the version. It's going to be version number 3. We're going to define one service. So we're going to say services. We're going to say like Maven. And we can say image. So the image will be composed by the environment variables that we transferred. The first thing that you need to know is that you always need this name to download your image. So you know that your image will always start with the name of your user in Docker Hub / then it comes the image name, which in this case is the Maven project, so we can put this as an environment variable, and finally that is the tag. So the tag is the thing that we're transferring. In this case it means 10 because that is the execution number 10, and if the image is not found locally, then Docker will try to download it from Docker Hub. So okay, now let's say container name, just to make it simple, container name, and we're going to say Maven app, something like that, right? So we're going to save this, and remember that we need to manually populate these variables because we're testing. So we're going to save this, and remember that in the file that was transferred, we have the information that we need. So we can take a look at our Docker Compose file, and we can say, okay, we need the image variable. So let's export it. Let's say export image equals to the first line of our file. Now, how do we refer to the first line of our file? We could use the set command. Set command allows you to grab lines from one file. So if you say 1p and then you specify one file, you're going to have the first line. If you say 2p, then you're going to have the second line, so on and so forth. So we're going to be using this to grab the name of the image that we want to download. So we're going to say export image equals to the execution of this command. Cool. Now we need the tag. The tag is the second line, so we're going to do exactly the same thing. Export tag equals to the execution of this command, but now the line is going to be the line number 2. Okay, and I think we don't need anything else. This is the password for the registry, so let's do the same thing. Export pass equals to the execution of this command, but in line number 3. That's cool. Okay, now that we have all of the 3 variables that we just created, it's time to log in to the Docker Hub. So for that, remember docker login -u, your username, then you say password, and you can pass the variable path that we have just created. And as you can see, we have an error. Oh, it's because I'm missing my second name, so it's gonna be like this. And as you can see, the login was successful. So now we're actually authenticated against Docker Hub, and we can start downloading images. So let's take a look at our Docker file. I mean our Docker Compose file, and you are going to see this image. If this image is not found locally, then Docker is going to try to download it from the Docker Hub using these credentials. So to deploy our application, we're going to be deploying it using Docker Compose because this is an easy example. In the real life, probably you use Docker Swarm or Kubernetes or another kind of tool for containers, so it actually depends on what you're using right now. In this video, we're going to be using Docker Compose, but anyways, I think that you already know in your real life how to deploy a container using your preferred tool like Kubernetes or Swarm or whatever you want. In this case, we're going to be using Docker Compose. So to deploy this application, the only one thing that we need to do is that we need to type docker compose app-d. And as you can see, it's going to log to this repository. It's going to look for this image with this tag, and it's going to download it and create the container using this name. So let's hit enter and let's see what happens. And as you can see, the image was not found in here, so it was automatically downloaded from our Docker Hub because we were previously authenticated using the correct credentials. So that's it. As you can see, the image was correctly downloaded, maybe on project number 10, and the container was created. So let's copy this name, and we're going to say docker logs to this, and as you can see, our container is actually working as expected. So we already deployed our application, downloading the image from the Docker Hub and using the file that was transferred to understand exactly what is the tag and what is the image that we want to download. So this is the manual process for this. Now we're going to automate everything that we did using a bash script. So this is it for this video. I'll see you in the next lesson.